Hello, back with another video. This is going to be a quick sort of overview, look around on how I study and how I kind of take notes and what sort of preparation I do for obviously exams and further studies basically. So we'll start with the main app I use, which is OneNote, and this is basically where I put all my notes for everything. So including all lectures, any sort of extra activities, any questions, anything like that, everything is in OneNote. And so I've got one notebook for the third year, and then I've got section groups in that year. So for example, I'm in third year now, so if we go into third year, so as you can see, one notebook for third year, and it's split up into all the different courses we have in the year. So this was obviously the ones with one next to it are first semester, 2 second semester, and A they're annual, so we have to do them first and second semester. So I'll start off with, basically we had foundations for SD, stands for system diseases. So that is, we just had lectures in radiology, pharmacology, biochemistry. So again, that's split up into different sort of subjects. So I split that up, and how I basically, in terms of studying, I get all the lectures for every single so I can write any extra notes and everything, and or highlight what I need, for example, on highlight what I need to do or things like that in terms of extra study, and then I just basically can go through any lecture that I need to anytime really. So it's a lot easier than just trying to find exactly where the questions are or the slides are, everything sort of in chronological order. And also the way it helps is obviously I upload the lecture on the date I have the lecture, so I even know the date of the lecture, so it's a lot easier in terms of that. So if we go on to a second part we had in this first semester was system diseases. Again, that split up into, mainly was cardiovascular system, nephrology, urology, pathology, and a bit of pharmacology as well. So again, if you go on to one of these sections, it was just basically splitting up all the lectures, any extra notes I wrote in the lecture, and then, for example, here, as you can see, I can jot a lot of things down next to each slide. It's a lot easier in that sense. And then we can, if we carry on, we can look at, for example, if I go into diseases of here, cardiovascular system, as you can see, ECG here. So we had a lecture on ECG. So another way what I go about after lectures is I look at what I kind of understood from the lecture, or what I should know from the lecture. And if I didn't really understand everything or didn't really get it, what I do is go on YouTube, go on, I don't know, anything on YouTube basically. And main one that I think is very useful, which you've probably all heard, Ninja Nerd. They are super useful. They go through everything that you need, and it's a lot easier to understand, I feel. So anything that I didn't understand in the lecture, I'd go through it again, kind of make my own notes, and also incorporate from the PowerPoint what I need to kind of know for the exam, for the OSCEs, things like that. So then that's for ECG. For example, if we go into another one, here, let's see, arrhythmias, cardiac arrhythmias. So again, we've got lectures, a lot of slides, a lot of words, and the thing is, when it comes to exams, I find it quite difficult just to recall from a lecture slide. So another way is, obviously, when you create your own sort of page, it's a lot easier. So for example, some of these snapshots directly from like Ninja Nerd, and then I can write my extra notes, and it's a lot easier to kind of remember. And for me personally, I kind of remember notes of kind of where they are or where they were located. So I'd remember, I don't know, for example, bradyarrhythmias at the bottom here, and I can remember, the types of, primary, secondary, type 2, heart block, 2 to 1, or Wenke back, things like that. It's a lot, if I have it in certain sections, it's a lot easier to remember. If I kind of do this for all the major topics. So for example, another one here, let's see. So as you can see, I've got cardiomyopathies, and then underneath it, with that one, it doesn't have a number, it's not a lecture, that means it's my own notes. So again, I go onto YouTube or use the slides, and I kind of create notes on all the important parts. So as you can see, I've split it up here. This is dilated cardiomyopathy, hypertrophic, restrictive, you get the idea. So I split it up and I kind of write all the basics and all the what I need to know. So the etiology, clinical features, diagnosis, treatment. So then I kind of get an idea of, if I split everything up into certain sections, it's a lot easier to visually, if I ever need to recall, I can go onto the slide or go onto the note and exactly find out what I need to. And then if I can't find anything here, I can go back onto the slide and see if it's written here as well. So the idea of having it side by side is a lot easier. And another aspect of OneNote is it is a free app, and I can go onto the goods and bads of it, but the main thing is it's quite easy to insert whatever you need. And if you've got an iPad or a Samsung tablet or whatever tablet, with a pen, writing notes by hand, it's a lot, you're saving paper, it's a lot easier in terms of rubbing out. If you're making mistakes, you can just delete and redo it again, whereas if you do it on paper, it can get messy if you're making a lot of mistakes. I'm not saying that you would, but I'm just saying in that sense. So basically how it's involved for us is, if I go back onto, I do all my notes on OneNote. So if I go into here, and we have the LMS, which is our learning management system, and this basically, I won't go onto it, just that has all our lectures are uploaded onto here. Timetable, stuff like that is also on here, but obviously we've got an app as well for our timetable. So if I go into here, I can have a look at the sort of what we've got coming up, what the what we've got in the day, etc, etc. So go back onto OneNote. As you can see, these are all my notes. This is how I do my notes basically. I find it a lot easier if I just create my own little slide, for example. Own little note or note section. It's a lot easier for me to kind of recall. And I like to kind of split it up also in color codes. So sometimes I try to do similar color codes throughout. So brown is cause, etiology, blue is sort of symptoms, and red is like diagnosis, investigations, and then the black or dark grey is treatments. So I kind of do that for everything, and it's again, it helps me kind of split everything up and get a better understanding and idea of how everything kind of links in together. So I create sort of these throughout the semester, so then when I get closer to the exam, I can start preparing questions and multiple choice questions, things like that. And there's question banks are available online. You can just type in whatever you want. I don't know, nephrology, multiple choice questions, and hundreds and hundreds of questions are going to pop up, USMLE style. That's kind of the style that we do, but you've got the idea of that's how I kind of go about creating notes. And another thing I like to do is sometimes screenshot these sort of notes and or these sort of questions, put them into for example, put them into one of these question banks, and sort of and create my own sort of notes, and I can write beside it. It's a lot easier that way. I can go through, and another way I do it is anything that I don't know or don't understand, I'd put an X on it, and then I'd try and find it in one of these, and then write down why that answer is wrong. So if you know why it's wrong, it's better to understand the whole question rather than just memorizing the correct answer. So in terms of note taking, and you can do it on a computer. There's a lot of you can type up all your notes, things like that. There's a lot of notes out there. So personally, I don't make a textbook of notes. I just like to do like virtual sort of the idea of just an image of notes basically. So it's not bullet points mainly. So it's a lot easier for me to visualize and sort of get an idea of remembering. So if I go back onto I don't know, for nephrology for example, and I go into diabetic kidney disease, it's a lot more easy for me to visualize all the notes and classifications, treatments, factors influencing. It's a lot easier for me to, obviously my handwriting might not be the best, but as long as I understand it, that's the main part. Then, so for example, if I go on to, again, why I use, again, OneNote's over, there's so many other apps, GoodNotes, there's so many different ones, Evernote, different types, and it's up to you really, but I've got into the OneNote sort of idea, and it's very, in terms of, because I've got a PC as well, not a Mac, so it's super easy in terms of, you write it here and within, 10 seconds you can be on your computer as well, so it's very handy in that sense. And for example, first semester obviously is over now, it's second semester, so we've got biostatistics, head and neck, system disease, and as you can see, it's so easy to organise and kind of sort of group all the notes as well. In terms of further studying, I do have, get the textbooks, the recommended textbooks, and I've got this app, it's called PDF Expert. It's another free app, and all my books, they're all on my OneDrive, which comes with our uni, so it's very handy. So I've got all the textbooks. So if I go back onto here, and if I go to textbooks, it's not so, let's see, let that load up. So if I go into recent files, or you can see all the recent sort of textbooks that I've got, and these are all just PDF copies, because I don't have any physical books. I don't think it's worth the money to get physical books, but some people do sort of prefer it, and it's up to you really, it's your personal choice, and I'm okay with these sort of books, and also questions, and you can get question banks and things like that, and this app is really useful because you can just open up a textbook and all the contents are highlighted, so I can go into any section, hemodynamic disorders, or anything that I really need, endocrine, bones, joints, whatever you really need, all split up into whatever. And then the idea of using the textbook is, a lot of our lecturers, or a lot of our courses are based off certain textbooks. So for example, currently we're doing, if I go into system diseases, we're doing hematology and anemia. And the slides have obviously got other parts to it, studies, case studies, research, things like that. But mostly they have a recommended textbook. So for example, I think this one is the Robbins pathology. So if I go into here, and if I try and find sort of hematology sort of part to it, red cell disorders, anemia. So classified here, and it's all here in sort of in chronological order again, so I can find it. It's a different way of putting all my notes. It's a different way of looking at, for example, if I didn't understand everything in the lecture, I can kind of look through it again, make some further notes if need be, write on the textbook directly. That's another handy part of this app. You can, just start writing wherever you need. Obviously, I'll just delete that for now. But yeah, you get the idea. You can just start typing and highlighting, etc., etc. And it's very easy. You can get a few textbooks open. So I was looking at the OSCEs and things like that. So it's very useful for any sort of books and textbooks. If you have a PDF copy, you can have hundreds of textbooks without having to carry a massive folder or bag of books all on this sort of one device. Another thing is the OneDrive. So what I do is, obviously all our lectures are online, so I download them all to the OneDrive, and again I've split them up into all the different sections again, so it coordinates with the OneNote as well, so I find it a lot easier. So for example, I can go into the syllabus here for our second, and hematology, it says an overview of the courses, what we're going to look through, things like that, and it also says all the topics, etc., etc., and sort of idea, and also suggested ideas of websites, and for our further studying and increasing our knowledge, it's very useful in that sense. In terms of what I'd recommend for you, I don't have a specific exact recommendation. This is, a personal thing. For example, I've got OneNote here from year 1 to year 3, but I never started with OneNote exactly because I only got an iPad in my 3rd year, so all the notes in 2nd year, they were taken again, but I just used my computer mostly for if I needed any further notes and further parts to it. I just used my computer for it, and I just did my notes through my computer. And again, I had a 2-in-1 computer, so I could easily, create drawings and things like that. So that was very useful. So if you can, get an iPad, or you don't have an iPad, you could get a foldable computer with a pen. And again, it does the same job. But if you can just type up your notes, or you can just get pictures, and it all does the same job. It's just down to personal preference. In terms of what I'd recommend trying different ways. Look through lectures, go onto YouTube, get your notes, look through one of these, I don't know, Ninja Nerd, there's so many different people. If you just type in whatever topic you want, you can just search whatever you need, and it's going to pop up within seconds. So I think the idea is you do what you need, and if you feel it isn't working, switch it up. There isn't always one right way. There's many different ways to study, and creating notes, questions. For example, I've tried everything: Notion, Quizlet. I've even created a Quizlet notes. In terms of notes, it's just question and answers, and I've tried my to go through all the lectures and create my sort of own multiple choice or flashcard sort of idea, so it's better for recalling. Again, it's all up to how you want to study, but in terms of devices, I'd highly recommend an iPad if you are looking to get a new device. Even any tablet sort with a pen, I reckon they all do a very similar job. They don't need to be this is an iPad Air, but people have got iPad Pro with the new chips, and they can go over €1,000 sort of thing, but it's not, you don't need it. It is very useful, but you can do it without. And that's basically an overview. I know it's a lot of talking, but I'd just like to say, thanks for sort of watching, and it is hopefully, of some use to you.